Huh. Yeah, that's pretty weird. Wonder why they did that. My name's Austin from Captured Metal, and today we're in the Kia K4. But we're not just in any K4, we're in the all-new GT line turbo model, and that's a big deal. So for those of you who are not familiar, the K4 replaces the Forte, which was Kia's compact sedan. Think of like Honda Civic, Toyota Corolla, and it was a great vehicle. They had a few variants of it, anything from the entry-level LX all the way to the GT, which was kind of their performance-y model to compete with the Honda Civic Si. And now Kia is doing something a little bit more interesting with their compact vehicles, and the K4 is exactly that. So Kia has been doing wild things in the design department, and the K4 is the epitome of that. I mean, this car's styling is so striking, and honestly, at first, I didn't like it. But this thing has grown on me, and I will be honest, it definitely depends on trim level, because the entry-level trims don't necessarily look that good, in my opinion. But this one, the GT Line Turbo, all dressed up with the body kit and the dark wheels and everything, this thing is amazing. If you're new to the channel, welcome. This is where I do a ton of car reviews on anything from a Mini Cooper to a Volkswagen electric bus. If you like the content, definitely give this video a thumbs up and think about subscribing, because I release content all the time and it helps support the channel. Let's talk about the styling of this thing first of all, because the styling is so striking. I think Kia and Hyundai have just been on a roll with every vehicle they've been releasing. In the past few years, of course, Kia's taken the world by storm with their Telluride, and everything they learned from the Telluride, they've put in some of their other vehicles, like the Sorento, the new Sportage that came out in 23, which is getting an update for 2026. All the way to cars like their K5 that recently just got a redesign for 2025. And now you have this, right? The K4. A little history on the K4, because the K4 replaces the Forte, and the Forte in most markets was referred to as the K3. So you would think that the K4 is also a K3 in other markets, but that's not the case. Yeah, I don't know why they decided to do that, but word through the grapevine says they gave the K3 nomenclature to a subcompact vehicle in the Asian markets, and they put the K4 moniker on this, the Forte, aka K3 replacement. Confusing? Maybe, but for us Americans and Canadians, I guess North Americans, it's par for the course, right? Because they renamed the Optima to the K5, and they've been doing some interesting things here and there. But we have the K4, and the K4 it is. The front end looks absolutely incredible, but I will say I do prefer the higher trims like this one, because this one is a GT Line Turbo, and the GT Line Turbo gets something that the other trims do not, and that is their new Starlight LED headlights, which look incredible. The only thing that's odd to me is that the main Starlight pattern is only used for the high beams. So your projector LED headlights on the top are the actual low beams, and of course you can't mistake the amber DRLs that Kia is famous for using. They look fantastic on this thing, and I like it because this is a signature look. If you see these gigantic amber DRLs, you know what car is coming up behind you. And that's something that I really like, because in today's market of vehicles, it's so easy to just get conglomerated with everything. Everybody's cars kind of look the same, and but Kia and Hyundai, they're doing something different. Kia specifically a little bit more, just because I think their designs are a little bit more stylish, but that's anybody's opinion. This GT Line Turbo model does get a specific body kit, so you get a different front bumper, you get a different rear bumper. You don't really have an exposed exhaust tip, which I wish they kind of did, But other things to make note of is that the brake lights on this model are also going to be full LED, which of course looks fantastic. And they are matched in with the turn signals, which is cool. This thing does have a fastback design, so you can see how the roofline kind of slopes back, which that's been a common theme for Kia sedans for the past few years. They had the Stinger, that was a fastback design. They implemented that design language into the K5, and now they do have it here in the K4. They didn't really do it with the Forte, but I actually did like the design of the Forte. But I don't think they did any disservice to the lineage with this car whatsoever. The wheel design on the GT Line Turbo is great. It is going to be a dark gunmetal graphite blacked out wheel design, which I think is becoming long in the tooth in this industry. I think we need to go back to silver wheel designs, or at least do a dual tone machine finish, which ironically comes on the GT Line non-turbo. So just keep that in mind if you are going to be shopping the K4 lineup and trying to determine a trim. But to me, it's just interesting that they do these things in their lineup for Kia, right? They're going to throw the black wheels on, the GT Line Turbo just because the Turbo has a different powertrain and yada, yada, yada. Doesn't make sense to me, but I'm sure there's a rhyme or reason for it. I guess they want a more premium look to it. Again, I think it's going out of style now, but I could be wrong. What do I know? As far as the drive of the K4, that is where I really, really think this car shines. So this specific one is the turbo model. So you have a turbo 1.6, 4-cylinder. They changed transmissions. So in the Forte GT, you had a dual clutch transmission. In this car, you've got an 8-speed torque converter automatic, which I think was a smart move. And if I'm being honest, it actually shifts really well. Shifts super fast. The shifts are quick, concise. I will say if you're downshifting, the shifts can get a little rough, but I've noticed that if you turn off traction control, that actually mitigates that quite a bit. Throttle response in this thing is excellent, and the boost is so down low that you have torque almost instantly, which is really nice in a car like this. However, if you're just in normal mode versus sport, the car's just really calm, collected. I mean, that's it. It's just really calm, collected. It's nice. Now, as far as the ride feel, the GT Line Turbo is supposedly getting, or does have, a Sport 2 suspension, which to me, I suppose I can feel it. I'll be honest, I don't find this to be a performance-oriented trim as much as it is a premium feeling trim. Like, I feel like they added the power in this car just for more of a premium experience versus saying, hey, this is a sportier driving car, say like the Civic Si, for example. You don't go to a Civic Si expecting a more premium experience as much as you do a more performing car. And I think that's the inverse between this and the Civic Si, because technically these are sort of competitors in their price point and their powertrain selection. But going into that, the steering feel in this car is something I love, because the steering wheel itself is a weird, is it hexagonal? I don't know what, English is hard. But that is the shape of the steering wheel. It's kind of oblong, but it's really nice. The steering feel itself, it's got a really good weight to it. It's very direct, surprisingly. It is electronically assisted, but not bad at all. I'm pleasantly surprised, especially coming from the Forte, because the Forte GT did actually have pretty decently heavy steering setup, and that was something I loved about the Forte GT. And yet this car follows suit really well with the steering feel. Now, one thing I will admit though is the steering can be a little bit floaty once you get up to speed, especially highway speeds. So like, I'm getting on the interstate now and I'm only going 50. I'm on the on ramp. The steering's already just a little bit floaty, but I mean, I'm still good with it. It's still good. It stays in a straight line. Whether or not you want to hold the steering wheel with two hands and drive spiritedly. If not, you can just relax and chill, and the car will do most of the work, but you might have to put a little bit of steering input in there. With road noise, This one does have a little bit more of an aggressive tire. I believe these are Kumo Majestic tires, which I think is a little bit sporty of a tire. So there is a little bit of road noise, I'm not gonna lie. Keep that in mind. You might not want to go to this trim for the road noise, but if you're listening to music and such, because this thing's got the Harman Kardon surround sound, perfectly fine. You can listen to music and just enjoy yourself as you go to whatever job you might have to afford one of these. This specific GT Line Turbo model does not have the technology package. The technology package is going to give you certain things like digital key. You're going to get the surround view camera with augmented reality, ventilated seats, things of that nature. Okay. However, hear me out. I do think this specific K4 trim without the tech package might be the best value K4 you can get. This specific one stickers at around $29,700. So yes, these compact cars are becoming pricier and pricier as the years go on, but so is every other vehicle. So you can't be too surprised. However, because of the price point and because cars are also getting larger and larger, this will also beg the question on, does it make sense to go up to the K5? That's up to you to decide. Now, let's talk about the interior, because the interior is wild on this car. For one, let's just talk about the color, because this one does have the GT Line Turbo Red Interior Package. Yes, that's the name of the package. And red interiors aren't anything new, and this one's actually not offensive. It's not a bright red, it's actually a more luxurious red, and the two-tone on the seats doesn't look bad at all. But there's a big but. I like big butts. The steering wheel has a red airbag cover, and the top half of the steering wheel is a two-tone red design. That is so funky to me. I don't know what they were thinking. They were thinking something. It's lost on me. I think it'll grow on me, but as of right now, I'm not like in love with the steering wheel design because of that. I will say though, they have another interior that's like a white and black two-tone, and that actually looks sick. But this red and black two-tone design of the steering wheel, I think it's a bit much. Now let's talk about the steering wheel design again, because I know I talked about the shape of it earlier, but this really reminds me of old like 80s and 90s, early 90s Ford steering wheels, like in the old Tauruses and God, what else did they have? Like old Windstars and stuff like that, or the Econoline. You get the idea. You do have paddle shifters on this one to row your own, you can't say row your own gears, shift your own gears. Got 8 speeds, so if you want to shift through all 8 speeds, you absolutely can. So the paddle shifters themselves, they feel good. I think they're plastic, but they don't feel like cheap plastic, if I'm being honest. Probably because the finish is like a metallic-y finish. So still par for the course. You've got all your normal nannies on the steering wheel that you would need as far as safety features. You've got your lane keeping assist. You've got your adaptive cruise control, collision avoidance in this thing, blind spot detection. Just make note, if you get like a tech package car, you will have blind spot view monitors. So if you want that camera system when you put on your blinker, you can get that here on the K4. You just got to get the GT Line Turbo technology package. One thing I find interesting that they've taken from the EV6 and now it's all the way in the K4 is at the bottom of the steering wheel, you do have your drive mode select button. So I don't know how long it's going to take for the average consumer to find that button, because it's gray just like the bottom of the steering wheel. It took me about 3 to 5 minutes to find that. What? And maybe I'm stupid, or maybe that's just a weird placement, or maybe they needed to make it bright red so you could see it. They made the airbag bright red. Make the drive mode button bright red. Now, these seats are super comfortable. Kia has always done really well with their seats as far as a good balance of firm and comfort. This one's no different. I will say the seats hug you ever so slightly to give you that sporty-ish feel, because this is technically a sportier, more premium offering for the K4, but it's not going to be like some aggressive Recaros, which is fine because you're not tracking this thing. But if you do want to track it, please send me the footage, because I want to see somebody track a K4. These seats are also heated. which is nice. You get ventilated seats if you get that tech package. Of course, it sounds like that tech package might be something that somebody wants if they want a fully loaded, decked out K4. That's your Charlie horse, right? I do believe MSRP on those are $33,000. So it's definitely a pricier car, but I promise you, I do think it's worth it because this car feels premium. Even the soft touch materials for the dash and everything, the way they have it textured, it looks almost like it's a leather wrapped dash. And that's so cool to me. The panoramic display looks incredible. You got wireless CarPlay now, which is awesome. The Harman Kardon surround sound sounds incredible. And the reactiveness to the screen is just incredible as well. I mean, you can do whatever your heart desires and the screen just reacts just as you need it to. One thing about the screen that I love is that not everything is integrated into it. So if you want to, access navigation, access media, access the climate controls, you've got buttons. And buttons are fantastic. Everybody likes buttons. I love buttons. You love buttons. Everybody loves buttons. But some car companies are just going away from buttons. And some car companies are learning that that was a mistake. Volkswagen. But Kia knows that their customers want a good balance of modern tech and buttons. So in the K4, you have buttons. In the interior, you also do have a numerous amount of USB-Cs. You've got a wireless phone charger. You've got auto hold, so it'll hold the brakes for you when you're in drive. You've got these interesting cup holders that you can change the size. So if you got a normal can of Celsius like this, you're fine. If you've got a gigantic Yeti cup, you're also fine. A thing that I find so funny about a few modern Kias is that their parking brake location, for the electronic parking brake rather, is on the dash, almost hidden, nowhere to be seen. So if you want to deactivate it manually or activate it manually, it's going to take you a few seconds to find it. But you don't have to worry too much because these cars already activated automatically when you put the car into park and open the door. You get a sunroof in this one, which is nice. The map lights are capacitive touch, so you can see whatever your heart desires at night. Nothing's creaking, nothing's rattling. The build quality in this thing feels really good, I have to admit. It is a nice car on the inside. It handles well, it's comfortable. I feel like the road noise could be a little less, but it is what it is. Overall, it's nice. With the backseat space, you're going to sacrifice a little bit, right? For two reasons. One, this is a comeback car. And two, the roofline is a little hair sloped. So you can't expect too much out of the rear seats. But it's still fine because most adults can fit back there. And on this turbo model, you do get rear vents, which, if that's important to you, you might want the turbo model. And I've seen people get certain trim levels just because of things like that, which is perfectly fine. Trunk space is also a place where this car shines because you do have a decent bit of it. You can fit a body or two, maybe three, on a good day. Don't tell anybody I told you guys that. For a front-wheel drive car, you do have a little bit of torque steer just because a lot of the torque hits down low and it's front-wheel drive and tires aren't the stickiest. They're somewhat grippy, but they could be grippier. But the chassis itself is fantastic. It's pretty nice. The power delivery is great. I love it. It's so linear, which is nice. You don't have to wait for boost to build that much. There's a little bit of body roll, but not too much. I mean, I know this will never happen, but I hope Kia makes a dedicated performance trim of this car. Say, like an Elantra N equivalent. Because I think that would make this car shine to so many different levels. And this car's design just yearns for a dedicated performance trim. And if Kia doesn't do that, it'll make me sad. And Kia, you don't want me sad. I want to start something new for the channel, and you guys tell me if you like it or not, but I want to make a scorecard for every car that I review. I'm going to judge it based off of style, performance, daily ability, and overall value. Now, when it comes to value and daily ability, those things are definitely going to be with perspective, because the value of this versus, say, like a Porsche 911 is obviously very different. So you got to just keep things in perspective for the car itself. So typically I'll probably be judging it against things in its class, or maybe even things similar to its class. Like for this, I would judge it against the K5, because now this is very similar in size to a K5. So it might make people think twice about going up to a K5. All right, moment of truth. Let's score the Kia K4. This is a 2025 model. So let's talk about styling. Styling for this car, especially within its segment, I'm definitely going to give this thing an 8 out of 10. I think this thing looks incredible all the way around. My only gripe is that some of the lower trims could look better ultimately, but I guess that's why you can spend the extra money for design. And let's just be honest, we do live in a world where a lot of people pay more money for better design. Now, let's talk about performance. Specific to the GT Line Turbo, comparatively to the rest of its class, I know you've got the Elantra inline, you've got the Civic Si, you've got things like, to an extent, the WRX, but WRX is definitely a little bit more in terms of performance. So retrospective or in perspective to the rest of the class, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 just because the turbo model has more than adequate power, but you do have more powerful options in its class. All right, so let's talk about value of this K4. So in general, I think the K4 provides an excellent value for someone who wants something stylish without breaking the bank. However, once you get to the turbo trim levels, they do get pricier, right? This one's right under $30,000. And if you get one with a technology package, you're going to be spending anywhere near $32,000 to $33,000, which, let's just be honest, for a compact economy sedan is not necessarily the most inexpensive thing in the world. However, the amount of tech and build quality you get in this thing is insane, okay? I mean, the beautiful screens, the tactile surfaces, the styling alone has value to it. Let's just be honest, the world we live in, people will pay more if they like the design of something. Point blank. You can disagree with me in the comments all you want, but wholeheartedly, people spend more money on things that are flashier. I'm not saying the K4 is necessarily flashy in like a Lamborghini kind of way, but this car definitely stands out. So, in saying that, this specific one being right under 30 grand, I'm going to say this thing is a pretty good value for the features that you're getting, especially considering you're getting a more performing engine. You're still getting great fuel economy. You've got a lot of good features, premium audio, sunroof. I mean, it's great. So I'm going to give value at 7 out of 10. And then daily ability. This car's incredibly easy to drive. It's easy to see out of. It's got great visibility everywhere. You can get it with extra nannies like a surround view camera and such, but for this specific one without the tech package, I'm definitely going to give this one an 8 out of 10 because you've got plenty of space for you, your friends, groceries if you need to, excellent fuel economy. It's got the fun factor. It's just overall a really well-packaged car. So let's add it all up. We've got style is 8 out of 10, performance 7 out of 10, value is 7 out of 10, and daily ability is 8 out of 10. That's going to be a 30 out of 40. So that's going to be a 75 on our scale. So that sets a good precedent. So let's see what other cars in the near future we might review and give them a good score. Also, big shout out to Carriage Kia of Alpharetta. I actually borrowed this car from them, and thank you to Ryan for letting me use this beautiful K4 GT Line Turbo. So if you guys are ever in the Atlanta area and you need a K4 or any other Kia, you can stop by a Carriage Kia of Alpharetta. They'll get you taken care of.